2 degrees. And I had the interview with the job, and they said, we'll call you tomorrow. And I thought, no, you won't, because I drove to Kankakee, packed up the car, and I went to Southern California. And I was going to have no more winter. And
you went to Malibu, right?
I went to Malibu. And, my dad had passed away and left me some money. And I thought, well, where does
a young man go with a good-looking view?
And so, I went to Malibu, and I was going to, write movies and win Oscars. And I actually got a job writing at Warner Brothers, and I worked at MGM. There was a director by the name of J. Lee Thompson who had me write one-liners for some of his movies, and that's how I ended up in the business. I started dating a girl whose dad owned an advertising agency, and he was terrified that I was going to marry her. And so, he gave me a job, and it was my path to legitimacy. Well, the next thing, they did political commercials. He had been Nixon's ad man, and next thing I know, I'm in Washington, D.C., and
you didn't marry the girl?
No, I didn't marry the girl, and I also didn't work at the advertising agency once I wasn't going to marry the girl. So, but it all worked out, and went to Washington, had a lot of tremendous, wonderful experiences, but it really gave me a global perspective on things. And, Kankakee, whether, people think of it, we're just Kankakee, this is a very global town. How many German companies do you have here?
Oh, yeah, we have the largest chemical company in the world,
Exactly, right here.
Yeah, and BASF, and Dow Chemicals here, and we have people who have immigrated to this country, and we can almost see Pettinghouse out the window here, and they've done amazing things and sell worldwide. So yeah, there's definitely.
And I don't think the average Kankakeean knows that. I don't think that people know that we have those companies that they are as big as they are,
and you think sometimes I think you want to, and I see this on what you do on Facebook, that you want to be able to say, you know what, there are some companies that are here that are doing great, that are paying people living great wages, and that sometimes those are jobs that need some education. We need some people who are ready to take those. Those jobs are available, and those companies are doing very well. They don't want to be too boastful. They don't want to be out there saying, we're doing great. We want to be on the front page of the newspaper saying we're doing great. They kind of want to fly under the radar a little bit, which makes telling positive stories tough sometimes.
Exactly. And what you need, one of the things I did in Washington, I was with the firm of Hill & Knowlton, which at the time we were there, we were the largest public relations firm in the world. And we did a lot of community representation, and we did a lot of economic development, and cities and towns and counties that wanted international business and their story told. Hill & Knowlton was one of the companies that the more progressive cities turned to, and paid them a ton of money, and we went out and we promoted them. And one thing that Kankakee really has going for it right now, and I don't think anybody recognizes it, is, let's face it, our number two, the number two guy in the United States Senate is an Illinois senator.
Yeah.
The president of the United States is from Illinois.
Yeah.
All of that, it's Washington talk again, but all of that can be sold, packaged and sold.
Yeah.
And right now we have a weak U.S. dollar, which is good for foreign investment in the United States. And, there are foreign opportunities that are out there that, especially, somewhere that maybe didn't have such a good relationship with the number two guy in the United States Senate or the President of the United States, could improve their relationship by making a sizable investment in an area that could use some investment. And those are the kinds of things that those slimy lobbyists do.
Of which you worked for 30 years, right?
Proudly.
Yeah. Well, and to be able to think at that different level, because we're thinking about Court and Schuyler, and to be able to think about, okay, we're part of
Russia
this. We're part
China.
of this larger world that can bring some big benefits to our local level.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. The Sultan of Brunei bought the Piper Aircraft Company
Yeah.
in Vero Beach, Florida, just to suck up to Jeb Bush. And, the company was in trouble, and here comes the Sultan of Brunei, who we have a horrible trade deficit with.
Yeah.
And, he plops down $1 billion to buy an aircraft manufacturer and turn it around so that he can, slap Jeb on the back.
And say, I helped you out with this one.
I helped you out with this one. Hey, somebody, let's slap Barack on the back and, and invest in Kankakee.
Yeah.
So.
A pretty interesting concept. We have to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're talking to Bob Schneider and talking about different ideas and things that we sometimes glean from the world of social media and your years in Washington, D.C. and beyond. We'll be right back after this. Eastern WKAN Morning Show. That's me, Bill Yohnka, Allison Beasley. And is it still 13 below, Allison?
I was just checking, Bill Yohnka. It is, in fact.
13
yes.
below right now. Well, we're talking to Bob Schneider this morning during the 8 o'clock hour. Don't judge him on the title of the You Probably From Kankakee If, because
he didn't
name it.
Title.
He didn't name it. He's just administering this now. But joining us here on the program, and somebody who you're going to spend a little. You picked the absolute coldest days of the year to spend a few days here around the Kankakee area.
It's the warmth of Kankakee that I sought out. Well, it's good to be home.
It is. There's a comfort to that. Yeah.
There is. I mean, it's home, and I lived in Europe for a little while, and I have traveled all over the world, and nothing excites me as much as when I'm coming down 57 and I see the exit for Kankakee because I'm home.
Yeah.
And it's like I've made the circuit again.
Yeah, it doesn't stop being home.
It doesn't stop being home.
Yeah. So do you still make the rounds past your old house when you grew up in and things like that?
I grew up at 963 Cobb Boulevard, and that's the old hood. And I go by there and look at the house. And
is that short Cobb or long Cobb? I get the numbers confused.
It's short Cobb, a half block off of Cobb Park.
Okay. Yeah.
On between Eagle and Park.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's probably we may have share an alley with your old house. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. George Ryan lives behind that house and up on the corner.
Yeah.
And the Smalls live on the corner. It used to be the Manicuses.
Yeah.
And I still go through and I take a look at all the houses as to who used to live there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no clue of anybody that lives in any of those houses now. Except of course George.
Yeah. So. He lives right there, and
yes, he does.
Yeah, and still there, and kind of on that block.
Mm-hmm.
No one has been there longer than him.
Yeah, he's the guy that anchors the block down.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about things that has this being active with social media in this way, has it changed the way you think about your hometown?
Yeah, it has, because my perception of the town is that nobody really cared, and everybody was just trying to get through their daily life, as best they could. And I've seen real passion for the town through the social media group, and people really care. They want to do something, and people go through a phase. I notice with new people, they come in and they blame everybody, and mainly politicians, as though politicians somehow or another we have a government-controlled economy in Kankakee, which we don't.
Yeah.
And that it's their fault that that shopping malls were invented.
Yeah.
And
that there was cheaper labor costs other places.
Labor costs in places like Singapore.
Yeah.
But that's the fault of the mayor of Kankakee at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But they go through a process, and they get it out, and then they start thinking about, well, what can be done.
Mm-hmm.
And just over the holiday weekend, someone said, where did Kankakee go wrong? And we had the hugest response that the group's ever had. And it wasn't people, at first they assessed blame, and then they got through that, and it's like, what can we do?
Yeah.
And it's gone from blaming everybody. No one is blaming Tom Ryan anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of a couple people.
Yeah, I can think of a couple of people too. So they're now thinking about, look to the future. And you see, one of the things that we don't allow to go on in the group is your local politics.
Yeah.
Your personal politics is absolutely none of our business, and we don't want to read about it. There are 100,000 political sites on Kankakee, and if you want rank risk politics, just come to my personal page because it is bare knuckles there. And people have kept the politics out, and when you say you can't put politics into it, that takes the blame away, and you have to start thinking about, well, what were the causes of this that are not political, and what can I do about it that is not political?
Yeah.
Because the solution isn't politics.
Yeah.
It's individual personal action. And that's what we hope to achieve is people, I want to see that guy start a shooting range. I'll come shoot at it.
Yeah. Well, it's the kind of thing where, it goes from who caused this to let's look at this situation. And I think about the pace that Kankakee grew at one point in time. And you go to a lot of old downtowns and say, oh, why can't, this is so cute and quaint, why can't it be like this in Kankakee? Well, in Kankakee you have the Paramount Theater's way up there, you have the post office that's way over here, the courthouse is here, and really things got, because it was growing, things got spread out.
Yep.
And in a lot of places where they just have a cute little courthouse and square that you go around and that's it.
It's funny
that stays kind of quaint and
well, yeah, and
homey.
I think the irony is that years ago everything did need to be walkable, and then as you said, we grew and it spread out. Now people are wanting it walkable again, right?
Yeah,
they're wanting it closer together.
I've been down here in the summer and gone to the farmers market.
Yeah,
and I love it.
Yeah,
and I'll buy coffee and sit there and see people that I haven't seen in years, and it's there's and really, I don't know who started that, but slap them on the back for it because it's a place where the community can come and be a community again. And
it's
there
more of
needs to be more of that.
a gathering spot. Yeah,
It is.
Allison and I have a big hand in putting on the farmers market, and really, it's kind of just a trick in the spring because there's not much in the way of vegetables.
Exactly.
We have some bluegrass music and some kids dancing and coffee. Yeah.
I lived in Alexandria, Virginia for about 10 years, and it's the home of the oldest farmers market in the United States.
Really?
And it goes every Saturday.
Have you been to that one,
I
Allison?
haven't, but Bill and I are both really into farmers markets and what they do for communities. So when I go on vacation, I go to every farmers market I can, and I've heard about that one, but I haven't been to it.
It's wonderful, and I moved. Upwardly mobile. I moved from Alexandria to McLean, which is a 30-minute grueling drive to get to Old Town Alexandria, and I drove it every Saturday just to see my buddies. And you can't believe the politicking that went on at.
I can
at
imagine.
Oh yeah, I think we can imagine.
I have seen deals made at the farmers market.
Well, it is a phenomenon when someone is running for office. The amount of money they spend at the farmers market compared to when they're not running for office.
That's right. Those organic eggs, they need a lot of them.
Well, I got to tell you, I love supporting the local farmers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I love going. And Gray Farms, let me plug Gray Farms because they got the best organic stuff there.
Oh, they do.
They
do a
incredible.
great job.
They do a great job. So.
And she's now teaching yoga classes in downtown Kankakee.
Crystal Gray, yeah, absolutely.
They do an amazing job. Well, it is 8:43. We're talking to Bob Schneider in just a few minutes here to wrap up the program. We want to remind people that it's so cold today. River Valley Metro is offering free rides all day long on all the fixed routes. If you need a place to get warm, that is the place to do it. If you're just walking somewhere and you see a bus, and today's the day, they're just going to let you on and take you up the road. So